if there's a topic that I can go and talk about non-stop and blab my mouth, it's about finances. So the reason why I'm so passionate about finances is because I'm the only daughter, first gen Latina, didn't like living paycheck to paycheck, not having enough money to pay my bills. And so there was just one day I was having a midlife crisis at 25 where I was like sitting there thinking, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my money? I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck and not having enough money to pay my bills. I taught myself financial literacy. I'm here to teach you. Please keep in mind that I am not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing you things that I've learned from my experience so I can share with you. Hopefully this starts your financial journey on financial literacy, budgeting, saving, investing, all of that fun stuff. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Fabiola, Latina content creator, live in Los Angeles. I'm all about finances, wellness, growth, content creating. But if you're back, you already know the vibes. So let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about budgeting, saving, investing, and credit cards. If I go off track and blab about something, it's just because my mind goes everywhere, but I really wanted to sit down and do this video because I'm very passionate about finances and making sure that everyone has financial literacy. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just like my personal experience. Also, you don't have to take all the tips that I give. Personal finance is personal. Take the tips or don't, but I do hope you learn something from it. The woman that taught me, I'm proud to say that with my financial literacy journey, all women have taught me. That is Tori Dunlap, Vivian Tu, Gigi the First Gen mentor that's on TikTok, Janice Torres, the Yo Quiero Dinero podcast. These are the women that have listened to their podcasts, watched their TikToks, and have listened to their audiobooks. Definitely the main one that has taught me is Tori Dunlap. She's from the Pacific Northwest. So I came across her podcast back in 2021. Episode 5 is my favorite. It pretty much says like where to begin. Because of Tori, I was introduced to Janice Torres, the Yo Quiero Dinero podcast, and then Vivian Tu, who has a podcast, who has a #1 best-selling book. So does Tori. And Vivian Tu is on TikTok. You might have seen her. She does the Your Rich BFF. And then Gigi the First Gen also released her book. I resonate more with Gigi's book because as a first gen Latina. So those are like my sources. Those are my girls that taught me on financial literacy. And then I'm here just to share kind of like a brief, because majority of what they all talk about is like their budgeting, savings, and then like investing. It's kind of like all within the same. But I will say that when it comes to finances, it's literally a mindset change. Like I, for a couple of years, was like listening to the same podcast or like listening to the podcast, reading the books, and like nothing is changing. It's because my mindset was not changed. You needed to change the mindset first. So like I said, personal finance is personal. The main thing to start and the hardest thing, kind of see where your relationship is with money. Like what's your first money memory? Where did it start? For me, my parents didn't really teach me about money. The only thing that they taught me was credit cards and don't max out the credit cards. Yeah, I did that. They just pretty much told me like just use 30% of it, also just to build up credit. And that I was like, okay, cool, but I maxed it out and I just didn't have any like discipline on like not overspending. So I did do that. I've been on my own since I was 19, so it was really hard to learn from being my parents taking care of me to being cut off financially to going straight to a full-time job while also going to school and college and paying for that. I learned a lot of hard lessons in my early 20s. Like I mentioned earlier, at 25 I had like a midlife crisis, and then that's when I decided like to sit down and do my finances. So first things first is budgeting. I like to have this like kind of like a money date. You look at your bank statements and all of that of just like how much are my expenses, how much money is coming in. I already have everything budgeted because I use Rocket Money, not sponsored, but I love Rocket Money because it budgets everything, tracks all my expenses, and I already have everything budgeted out. But if you're starting out in the beginning, look at the past 2 months of your bank statements and your expenses. Look at how much you are spending on going out, shopping, miscellaneous, for gas, groceries. This is gonna be hard. You're gonna be very, very humbled, because I was very humbled. So that kind of gives you a perspective of how much you're spending. You might think that you're spending like $100 on groceries or like going out, but you're actually spending like $300. I set my budget as these are my utilities. These are like a must. Like these have to be paid every single month regardless. And then it's my fun money of like I'm paying myself first, but you can do it vice versa because there's the 50-30-20 rule. So 50% of like your utilities expenses, 20% for savings and investing, 30% for yourself. And I know that's not the case. A lot of us, especially as a first gen and in a Latino household, our checks were just literally just to pay the rent, groceries, and there's not a lot of money left over. I just like to see first thing is how much money do I need in order to make it to the next month, and how much is left in my budget after, like in my paycheck. All my expenses are covered, and this is for me, it's rent, car payment, insurance, groceries, and gas. Those are like my 5 things that I need in order to survive the month. The next is like subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu, or like Canva, and so those are like fun subscriptions that I can easily cut off. There is debt. We're gonna get into it, like budget that in as well, how much you need to do for the minimum payment, for your debt, and then your savings. So there's like a lot that goes into it when it comes to budgeting, but like whatever you list that you need, for me it's the 5 things of like rent, car payment, insurance, groceries, and gas. Those are like my 5 main things. Underneath it, I would include debt, credit card payments that need to be paid off. I will say that the first thing that you need before paying off your credit card debt is an emergency savings. We'll get to it shortly, but we're still sticking to the budgeting. But after you put necessities, the debt, and then what's left from the budget, I would say is fund money, or like for saving and investing. I would say pay yourself first. After you see what's ever left over, you can divide it in half or just take a certain percentage. For me, I'm currently in credit card debt and I'm getting out of it, so I have limited my fund money to myself. The majority of my fund money is going towards my debt. Let's talk about debt and savings. Like, to recap it all, you have your paycheck, you minus your necessities that you need. That includes even like credit card payment, and then the rest is see how much you have left over. Even if it's like $10 or $5 left in the budget for you yourself, save it or keep it to yourself. I have been in situations like in the past where I have a paycheck, I budget it out, and then at the end of the day, all my expenses are paid and there's only $15 for myself for the rest of the month or the paycheck, and I have to be disciplined in order to to not overspend. I literally used to do like pay my credit card and then go back and use it. Girl, I was not getting nowhere. I was literally staying in the same situation. What I try to do my best is try to save 10% of my income, put it to the side and save. So let's talk about savings. I didn't know what high yield savings account until all the women that taught me. And it's also known as HYSA. A high yield savings account, it's pretty much online banking where there's interest accumulating for the money that you have in the bank, and it's mostly online banking. So there's Wealthfront, Ally, Chime, SoFi. Those are a couple. Do your research on which one you prefer. For me, I prefer Wealthfront and Ally Bank. Those are the 2 that I have right now. Wealthfront has my emergency savings. Ally Bank has like my fun big savings on whatever I want to spend on, for example, like traveling, shopping, makeup, etc. We all need an emergency savings before we get out of credit card debt and start investing. Like I said, personal finance is personal. An emergency savings, it's pretty much whatever money you need for expenses. Like, let's say you get laid off from your job, you have an emergency savings to cover you for the next 3 to 6 months. What's recommended is the minimum is 3 months, preferably 6 months, and this is like the bare minimum necessities in order to cover your expenses. Like for me, car insurance, rent, groceries, and gas, and my subscriptions if I decide to have them or if I cut them off. But those 5 things are the main necessities that I need in order to make it the next month. Just know an emergency saving does take time to save up and build. In order to like have more income, you gotta make more income. That's what I've learned. It's like either you get a pay raise or you get a second job or do a side hustle in order to bring in more income, because unfortunately in the country that we live in, one income is not enough. One income could be enough if you get paid good, but even if it's just the minimum payment and a little bit above it, it's still just not enough. And so when it comes to savings, you really need to have 3 to 6 months saved up. Once you have those like 3 to 6 months of emergency savings saved up, it kind of gives you like a relief that like, you know what, you're gonna be fine. You have money in the bank. It's a community interest in a high yield savings account. Like the bank is literally giving you money for having money in their bank. Average interest is like between like 3.25% to 4. It all depends on the economy, but high yield savings account is only for like online banking. You'll not find it on like big banks like Chase, Wells Fargo's, Bank of America. No, their percentage is literally so low that you get pennies on the dollars instead of dollars on your dollars, or even dollars on your hundreds. They don't have like a high yield savings account. Also, when it's a high yield savings account, you kind of want to have it to be like quick access. You don't want to invest this money, because investing, once you put it into the stock market, you're going to get taxed to get it out. You kind of just want to have that money there, so it's easy access to get quick and grab it. Like I said, you're getting paid interest on having money in there. Once you have your emergency savings saved up, then it's like time to tackle down your credit card debt. Credit card debt is like the highest percentage when it comes to interest. The next one would be like student loans, house, car. Those have lower interest. You kind of want to go towards the big higher interest. You can do two methods to pay off your credit card debt. You can do the snowball or the avalanche. The snowball is pretty much paying your lowest to highest amount debt, or if you do the avalanche, it's pretty much paying the highest to lowest interest. I am doing the avalanche, so I'm paying off my highest interest, which is credit card debt, and then bringing it down. To be transparent, I do have a car payment, I do have student loans, and your girl spent a little too much, and so she's in credit card debt. So what I'm doing right now, I thankfully already have my emergency savings money that I'll be saving. It's going towards my debt payment. So I'm paying off my credit card debt. I'm paying more than the minimum. If like, let's say you have 3 credit card debts and the minimum is $30, you don't want to put like $100 here and $75 here and then $50 here. Just do 2 minimum payments, and whatever you have accumulated extra, make it to the main one, and then whatever you were paying to that credit card, apply to the next one, including the $30 for the minimum payment. Once you get out of that credit card debt, you'll just accumulate, pay it off, and then the next one, pay it off. It does take time. You have to be patient with it, and you have to be within your budget and be disciplined in following it. If not, it's not going to work. And then even with that, when credit card debt and then savings, you most likely will get a raise. Like if you're at a job, the main point is to also live below your means. Once you get a raise, don't go extra and buying stuff here, buying stuff. Just still follow your budget while you got that pay increase. That extra money can definitely go towards paying off the credit card debt, or paying off the debt, or going into your savings. And please know that this is going to take time, and the fastest way to get out of it is by increasing your income, and it's going to be hard. I'm there with you, girl, because I believe in you, because I believe in myself, and we'll get through this. You have your emergency savings, credit cards paid off. Like, this sounds like it's going to be like a long journey, but just know, even just starting right now with your finances, of just sitting there creating the budget, seeing where your money goes. And I'm not saying that you have to track every single dollar, but just know that you budgeted a certain amount that's going to go for gas, groceries, shopping, whatever you want to spend your money on. That is the biggest step. Me personally, I used to just have one bank account, one checking, where all my bills are in there, and then all my spending was in there, and I would overspend. Let me like skew away from credit card debt and talk about a little bit more about the budgeting. Back to the budgeting, like I said, I'm all over the place. I prefer having multiple bank accounts to separate my money. So I have the main one where all my payments, like all paychecks, go into this one account, and then on my Ally account, I already have scheduled transfers to get money from that account every 2 weeks, because I get paid every 2 weeks. Transfer for the Ally account, it's literally just my budget for groceries and gas. That card is literally just groceries for gas. And then I have a Chime account, which I had like years ago, so I still have it, and that's just my fun money. I already know, have an idea how much my expenses are going to need to be, so I just get a certain amount and transfer to my Chime account, and that's just my fun money account. And what I like about Chime is just like, I get to see, can I go out, can I not? Let me just look at how much I have in the bank. I can't go out. That way I don't overspend. If my money runs out, I'm out of money. But in my Wells Fargo account, that's where all the bills are paid, that's where all the money comes out for bills. Ally account is just for groceries and gas. I like keeping them both separate so I don't overspend. When it comes to credit card debt, or when it comes to credit cards in general, you kind of want to be looking around what credit card works best for you and which one's going to work for you. So for me, I love the Chase Sapphire. Chase Sapphire is my favorite credit card because using it gives me my points back. Your girl overspent a little bit when she went to Puerto Rico. I have my points, but I'm in debt. But before I went to Puerto Rico, I was able to pay for my flight with my Chase points. So that's how I get to do like traveling, and I usually don't pay it for my own money. So I like how with Chase you get points for like dining, shopping, pretty much on anything. So you just do whatever one works best for you. I prefer getting a credit card that gives you points, and you can use those points for traveling, hotel, rental, for me, it's mostly the travel, like the mileage, where you can literally exchange them for gift cards or like for money, or even paying it back to your credit card. Also, when it comes to credit, you want to know what your credit score is. I use Credit Karma. That tells me like an accurate of how much my credit is. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be straight up, your girl was in the low 500s. We are thankfully now in the 700s because I sat down and followed my budget and I wanted financial literacy. I use Credit Karma to check my credit score. I check like at least once a month. Like if you have a good credit score, it can get you like loans, house loan, car loan, all that. And I will say a tip is that don't close your oldest credit card. I have a credit card that the limit is $700. I got this credit card back when I was like 20. I'm not closing it because that's my longest credit card. Your credit score goes based on your credit history. When it comes to your credit card, you want to use 30% usage of it. So for example, let's say your credit card limit is like $1,000. Your limit is $300. 30%. What's recommended is 10%. So let's say $1,000 limit, $100. That's with credit card usage. And of course, if you go over the usage, just budget it out, put more money towards paying off credit card. The goal is to get out of credit card and then learning how to manage your credit card and having the credit card like work for you and get those points. For example, like for Tori, she doesn't use the debit card. She uses the credit card as if it was her debit card. So she only uses what she can afford and pay back. I will get there eventually. You will get there eventually. But for right now, it's budgeting, savings, and getting out of debt. I know for a fact I'm gonna get there. Even though I don't know the timeline, but I will get there. That's when it comes to credit cards. And you definitely don't want to overspend what you can't pay back. You want to have credit cards that like you're gonna use. So if you don't, like for example, there's credit cards for everything. There's a credit card for like American Airlines, like JCPenney, Macy's, like whatever you want. But if you don't really shop at JCPenney or Macy's, there's not really much of a usage of getting those credit cards. Or if you don't really travel with American Airlines, why would you get a credit card with them? Be strategic on what credit cards you want. For me, I have Ulta and Sephora because I love shopping at both. I have Chase because I love to go out and eat, have a nice dinner out with the girlies. So that's what I would use that for. So I do have a couple of credit cards, but I'm not using them. But I also goes that if you don't use your credit card, it does get closed. Sometimes you want to make like a transaction just here and there. For example, my Wells Fargo's credit card, that's the longest credit card that I've had. I literally have Netflix on there, the monthly subscription on there, and then there's a monthly payment reoccurring. Everything's automatic. I don't have to worry about it. It's already budgeted out. So that is still being used at least once a month. But like I said, personal finance is personal. But let's get into investing. Girl, when I was listening about investing, like I don't know nothing about that. I'm literally just a girl. But when it comes to investing, I later learned that there's robo-advisors. So pretty much like you put in your information, how much income you make, how much money do you want to have per year when you retire, and then this is like an amount, this is where you should invest, all of that. Not sponsored. Wealthfront did all of that for me. I gave it my information, put it in, and then they're like, okay, you have to deposit a certain amount. For Wealthfront, it's $500 that you have to invest, that you have to put in order to be invested in, and then distribute it out. And then all you gotta do is put monthly money and they'll invest. After the $500 with Wealthfront, you can put whatever amount you want. I budgeted out, I put like a small amount just because like I said, I'm trying to get out of the credit card debt. I am on track for retirement. I think this is like the biggest thing. It's like where like as a first-gen Latina, it's like need to think about my future, not just for myself but for my siblings or for my parents. How's it all gonna be? So that's what really made me think on like wanting to get financial literacy. Is like when I'm older, I want to retire. I always say that like as a first-gen, I need to be better than what my parents have gone through. My parents have sacrificed a lot, so I need to be a better version. So when I also like, let's say I have kids, they need to be a better version than me. That's why I'm here with like learning financial literacy, making sure I have money that when I retire, making sure all my expenses are paid, everything's good, because their sacrifice is literally me living my dream, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So when it comes to like investing, there's the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the US, and it's invested in it. That's the most that I know. But the robo-advisor does everything for me. And like I said, personal finance is personal. If you want to learn more about investing, day trading, go for it, baby girl. But for me, I'm gonna sit back. You tell me where to put the money, I'll put it there. Invested, cool. And here's the thing, when you are investing your money, that money is going to grow and go down. When you are investing, the key is to keep the money there. Do not pull it out. The stock market is low, the economy is bad, and you are losing money, leave it there. How you should be seeing investing, especially for retirement, it's long term. It's long term. It's gonna grow. It's gonna go up and down, up and down. There's also a brokerage account, pretty much an investing account. You put a certain money in there, it's invested, you can pull it out, but you will get taxed on it. There's also a 529, which I do have a 529 for my younger brother. It's pretty much an investing account for education, because my parents tried their best to save and give me money for college, but there was none, and they were like living paycheck to paycheck to make sure I was in school my first year, and I had no financial aid. That was a struggle. And then I was cut off, and then got financial aid into student debt, and then financial aid didn't really cover majority of my school year, so I had to pay out of pocket just to stay in school. Because I have already gone through those struggle and I don't want my younger brother to go through those struggle, I've started a 529 plan. It's not going to be a lot, but at least it's more than what I had when I started school, so it's just a little money there for when he goes to college. The brokerage account, it's pretty much like building up your wealth. Let's talk about like net worth. Your net worth are pretty much your assets and your debt. So what you have in assets, pretty much saved, car, house, and then you subtract it of how much is your debt, and that's your net worth. But this is kind of like a brief of like my talking about finances. Like I can literally blab so much about it. I hope the main thing you take away from this is that it's okay to start all over. It's okay to barely learn about financial literacy. It doesn't matter if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. Like do not beat yourself down for it, for just learning. The good thing is that you are now sitting here with me learning, hopefully taking notes, and then applying it to your own personal finance. I used to beat myself down for it, like dang, I didn't start until I was 25. I wish I started when I was 18. Time is money. The sooner you start, the better, especially when it comes to investing. But like I said, the main key part is to have your emergency savings, get out of debt, and then start investing. And of course, while you're doing all of this, you can definitely save as well for like shopping, traveling, whatever expense. Just like to add to this, like I said earlier, when it comes to money, it's literally a mindset. Don't tell yourself that you're broke. If your bank account is negative 500, girl, I wouldn't say that I'm broke. I'm like, there's just no money in there. There's money coming. There's no money in there, but there's money coming. I really just don't like saying that I'm broke, because whatever you tell your mind believes it. So if you tell yourself like I'm rich in life, I attract abundance of money, money comes my way, money comes to me naturally, money flows to me easy. If you tell yourself those affirmations, it just, for me personally, it worked. And I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I actually see money in my bank account, because when I started seeing more flow of money. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if I should go more in depth on each subject: budgeting, saving, investing, credit card debt, all of that fun jazz, because I can literally blab about finances so much. It's something that I'm just really passionate about, and I just want to share what I've learned, share it to you, and then tell you who taught me, and then you hopefully take notes and apply it to your financial journey. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one.